The three small Baltic republics of the Soviet Union, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, were the first of the republics to declare their sovereignty and regain their independence in 1991. An attempted coup in Moscow in August to stop the reform movement begun by the Baltics led instead to a popular uprising and the dissolution of the Soviet Union. The smallest and northernmost of these three Baltic states is Estonia. The country's area includes about 800 islands off the coast. These control the traffic lanes from the Baltic Sea to St. Petersburg, the chief Russian port. Tallinn is the capital, see Tallinn. Area 17,462 square miles, 45,227 square kilometers. Population, 2020 est. 1,331,000. Except in the southeast, where the land is hilly, the ground is flat with many lakes, streams, and marshes. Dairying is a major industry. The chief crops are rye, wheat, oats, and barley. Forests are abundant and furnish wood for match, furniture, and paper industries as well as for fuel. The most significant mineral is oil shale, from which petroleum and fuel gas are obtained. Estonia produces great quantities of oil shale, and 1/5 of its industrial workers are employed in its production. The shale processing industry was also responsible for 75% of the Soviet Union's synthetic gas, and it contributes to the production of thermal electric power for all the Baltic states. A chemical industry that relies on shale makes benzene, adhesives, tanning agents, resins, formaldehyde, and detergents. The chief manufacturing centers are Tallinn, Tartu, and Pärnu. Woodworking has long been a traditional industry in Estonia, but exploitation of the forests threatened the enterprise until extensive reforestation policies were implemented in the 20th century. Estonia is also noted for its textiles, especially cotton cloth. It produces wool, linen, silk, knitted and woven garments, and shoes. Agriculture was collectivized at the end of World War II, when small, private farms were converted into collectives and state farms. After independence in 1991, the old collective system began to be dismantled and private ownership reintroduced. The Ests, or Estonians, are a blonde people related to the Finns. Their language is much like Finnish, which is Mongolian and not European in its origins. Most of the people are Lutheran in religion. Little is known of the early history of Estonia. The Danes held the north from 1219. In 1346 they sold it to German landholders, the so-called Balts, or Baltic barons, who held the south. Later the land was divided between Sweden and Poland. Sweden ruled all of Estonia for about 100 years until 1721, when it was lost to Peter the Great of Russia. Estonia won its freedom after the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, becoming an independent republic. Estonia's later destiny was decided by a non-aggression pact signed by Germany and the Soviet Union in August 1939. A secret protocol assigned Estonia and other Eastern European nations to the Soviets. In 1940 during World War II, Soviet forces occupied the Baltic states, and Estonia became the Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic. The next year the Germans drove out the Soviets. With the return of the Red Army in 1944, about 30,000 Estonians escaped to Sweden and 33,000 to Germany. Peasant farms were brought into collectives, and industries were nationalized. In 1988 Estonia's constitution was amended to give the republic the right to veto Soviet laws, and Estonian was made the official language. As Eastern Europe abandoned communism in 1989, efforts continued to secure political and economic independence from Moscow. An Estonian Congress completely outside the official Soviet structure. Estonian voters had to establish that they or their ancestors lived in the republic before it was annexed, called on the Soviet Parliament and the United Nations to restore the free and independent Republic of Estonia. On March 30, 1990, the Estonian Parliament approved a declaration of a gradual transition to independence. By April, however, it ended compulsory service in the Soviet Army and declared Soviet rule over its territory to be illegal. The Soviet Defense Ministry responded in January 1991 by sending thousands of army paratroops to Estonia and 6 other republics to enforce military conscription and round up draft dodgers. In an open plebiscite held March 3, 1991, Estonia voted overwhelmingly for independence. On September 6, 1991, following an unsuccessful coup in Moscow, the Soviet Union's new ruling council recognized Estonia's independence. You can subscribe to support our channel and turn on the notification bell to be notified of new videos.